I actually have to touch up the scoreboard, so Zombie Grub, could you please take us away?
All right. So in the bottom left, you have our Protoss players currently down 1-0 in this best of 5. It's going to be ShoWtime.
And it's in the upper right corner of the map, coming off a very strong victory in the early game 1. It is the Red Zerg player, Nerchio. And of course, this is the Kaspersky King of the Hill Arena, guys. They put €1,000 into this. For those who don't know, this is basically going to be 4 best of 5s today. Each round increases in value. Right now, this very first best of 5 of the day, this is only worth €100. The next match is worth €200, then 300, then 400. So basically, Nerchio has the potential of earning all €1,000 today. So does ShoWtime. Every other player that comes in, though, they cannot earn that prize pool from before. So, like, let's say, hypothetically, ShoWtime walks away from this series. There's a guaranteed €100 in his pocket, regardless of what else happens today.
All right. That's pretty cool style, honestly. And we do have, if you guys don't know who's actually playing today, it's going to be TLO, Nerchio, ShoWtime, of course, and
Sake.
oh my god,
Cass.
Sake, thank you, and Cass. So very, very good. Unfortunately, there's only one Terran. I love Terran, but that's fine. Cass is a good Terran.
I was gonna say, of all the Terrans, if you
Gonna
can
have
have one European Terran, Cass is gonna be one of them.
Pretty good. So, well, let's talk a little bit about this map right now. So, Whirlwind is very different from Belshir Siege, which, yeah, of course it is. Don't be silly. But
4-player maps in general, man. I mean, the game starts from the get-go of just having to scout your opponent. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it really is. And the one thing I want to point out here is ShoWtime's Sim City within his own base. Before we even get into the scouting mechanics, look at this. He doesn't know what's coming, so he's already setting off these walls, these paths to retreat, and fight in the mineral lines if he needs to.
Yeah. He's really prepared for some type of early pool, and early pools are surprisingly common on Whirlwind, I guess, because of course the Overlord's going to scout at least one position before any others, so you can surprise them by being like, oh, I'm going to play greedy because it's Whirlwind, you're not going to cheese me, and then bam, you get cheesed. But when it comes to the mid to later games, Belshir Siege is like very, very known for being very good for mutasiles in every single matchup. So that's why we did see Nerchio go for that Mutaling, which is very good on that map. But Whirlwind, we might not be seeing that. I mean, it's still decent, you can definitely still do it, but it's not as good as Belshir Siege.
Yeah, it's not a bad map for Mutalists, but it's really hard to get around this map. There's a lot of great engage paths, though, that do encourage to play like Roaches, Hydras, Lings, etc.
Yeah.
But
and of course, that wide open middle means that the concave is really good for any like big battles.
Right, and one thing I want to touch on that you just mentioned was early pools being somewhat more common. Well, we had a regular pool come out of Nerchio 15 standard stuff, but you're 100% right in that. I feel Whirlwind, despite being literally the biggest map in the map pool, tends to have some of the shortest games on it.
Yeah, right? I mean, I don't know what it is. I guess Zergs in general are kind of being all-in against Terran. Oh, nice
very early Twilight.
Yeah.
And this, I gotta say, man, like, Blink is cool, but I'm smelling Dark Templar.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be Dark Templar too. I mean, that was something that was very popular that was going on for like 4 months ago. Like, I'm not sure why it actually disappeared, but DT expands were so popular for a while.
Well, the reason I'm smelling this too is, like, again, trying to keep the everybody audience involved. 3-on-3 on gas like this, often you see players not dedicate this much gas binding unless you're going for a very gas-intense build like Dark Templar. And there we go. Here comes that Shrine. So just like fun fact, guys, if you scout a Protoss player and they're going for massive gas, it's like 50-50 whether it'll be Dark Templar or something else. Usually Stargate's the alternative.
Exactly. So, yeah, good thing to remember. But Derek Shrine is the key of choice. And now that's something important here, right? Last game, I noticed that Nerchio did not have an Overlord off to the side of the main. He never suicide scouted, which you normally do. So he's never going to scout this Dark Shrine unless he goes for like a faster layer and gets an Overseer somehow before the Dark Shrine finishes, which would be, I think, impossible at this point because it has like, layer wouldn't even finish. So he had to get a Ling in there or something to actually scout it.
Well, that's the beauty of this build. Well, on both sides of the coin. On one hand, like, yeah, you bank on your opponent not having a layer to get it out early enough. Wow, there's a lot of Lings coming across the field. Touch on that in a sec. But the other thing that makes this so good for a Zerg player as well is even if you don't scout it, because it's a big map, as long as you make sure there's no pylons immediately around your 30 or 4th, which ShoWtime wants to get up there, the distance for a Dark Templar to walk is massive. But there's nothing walling this off, and none of that is relevant. Well, no.
There is a cannon. No, there's no cannon. Yeah, there is.
Yeah, he put it over just, but more importantly, he can warp a DT into his own main if he needs to. He doesn't want to, and he shouldn't have to, and he can actually pull probes to deal with this for now. All he's got to do is wall this off, and he's good. But these Lings will scout that Dark Shrine, and this should prompt Nerchio to immediately get Spore Crawlers, if not a layer, so he can get some Overseers out on the map.
Yeah, even getting some Spine Crawlers too, because Lings are going to be like decimated, and Queens aren't that great at it too.
Did he not scout? There we go, Spore Crawler coming down so late.
Yeah.
The main and the natural should be okay, but this third base is in a lot of danger. He can focus fire these Spore Crawlers to kill them way before they complete if he gets in there quick enough.
Yeah, as you can see, Nerchio sees it coming, actually. He did cancel one Spine Crawler, I believe.
Sick move. Look at this. Surrounding the Spore Crawler so it can't actually be picked off. But the problem
the
is...
Queen will...
Well, even if the Queen dies... Or the Queen needs to live. He doesn't actually have Stag Defense to hold off the Dark Templar.
Exactly, that's actually second Spore Crawler. So the Spine Crawler was unfortunately canceled, and then the other one was killed. So this is looking a little bad right now for Nerchio. He did drone up behind that attack. He's just making an Arts on, he's going to try and go for it. He droned up behind that attack. It wasn't a slow Ling all-in that you might see on 3 base. He was just like, I'll, pretend to, and then go back. So has a great economy, just absolutely no units, and Lings are not that great against Archon Zealot.
Yeah, and he's forgone Metabolic Boost. This is, of course, because we want to get Roaches on the field, but the Roaches aren't here yet. And that's the big problem at hand. Just going to evacuate this entire base. It's not worth it, says Nerchio.
I think I like that decision, honestly. There's no way he would have kept it, and he would have left everything else, so he's definitely behind. Yeah, it sucks that it happened, but if you keep all the drones, there's actually not that bad of a chance that you can come back. But this army popping out in all the wrong positions. DTs are still going unscouted, by the way, guys. There's no Overseer yet, so that's free damage that ShoWtime does.
He did advance a Spore Crawler, though, so he should be able to take this unless he fights within range of that. But big Time Warp goes down, surrounding the Archon. You might be slow Lings, but that Archon is dead, and that's all that matters.
He pushes it back. ShoWtime does keep most of his army, though. Doesn't have a recall like usual, use a Time Warp instead. But Nerchio is down one base, and that is very unfortunate. ShoWtime, meanwhile, just getting up to that Robo. He has a healthy economy right now, and he's just going to go home. Nerchio either has to counterattack or try something like really greedy now.
I love this aggressive style that's coming to ShoWtime, too. Like, when people go for the gateway first, and they even go for the gate expand, often I find they just turtle up off that. And that you don't go gate first to do that. Like, why not just Forge Fast expand? So I love that he actually followed this up with some aggression. Yeah,
that's a very good point. Feeling like that. So Nerchio is going to go ahead and get that third base up again. He's not going to go for some crazy like drone pull, which you never see anyways.
This is still so much lost mining time, so much larva forgone. I mean, Nerchio's not in a bad position, guys. He's not out of the game, but this is not good for Nerchio by any means.
Ovid's going to come in here and see exactly what he has. He sees the Robo, which immediately pops out in Immortal. I like the decision. He didn't go Observer first. I guess it would have been out anyways, but he's got to be very careful. Nerchio is, he's mad. He just lost a base. He can't just sit back with all the units that he made, making a third base. He's going to try and counterattack, and that Immortal is going to be very helpful in dealing with those Roaches, although, honestly, with the defensive position, he probably doesn't really need it.
How about this probe has been patrolling here at the 4th base of Nerchio for a long time. It's I don't know why it's not dead, quite frankly. Ooh, nice force field to catch some of these slow Lings on their way out. And while the Lings weren't really a big threat, they were cannon fodder for the Roaches. Now these Roaches are going to be forced to take those hits in the next engagement.
Yeah, it's definitely true. Breaking down the rocks a little bit, just doing whatever he can with the Roaches. They are still slow. It's a little 30 seconds off from being fast Roaches, so looks like a few will go down for no good reason.
That.
Third is back up though.
He's gonna keep sending a couple off to try and buy time for the main army. Like he knows he's gonna lose a couple if he just runs. So kind of a neat tactic there.
And it's still, I guess I learned that Archons do chase down Roaches today, but they're going to be on creep, so there they go.
I had no idea that Archons outran on upgraded Roaches. The more you know.
Yeah, exactly. Roach is going to come in here. That is not a good fight, though.
No, big Time Warp. And Force Fields as well. Salt in the wound.
That was unfortunate. I think people, they just don't recognize the mothership to their cores there. They figure that time spell's even down, and they're just like, herp, I'll do this, and Time Warp's a good spell. It really is.
Yeah, the Hydra's coming out next are kind of cool. He's going for the Groove Spines because he knows he'll be fighting defensively. He doesn't need the Muscular Augments to chase this army off a creep. But will there be enough Hydras in time is the big question. Force Fields are so good at cutting these armies in half, and the Archons, oh man, the Archons are going to be such a big deal in this next fight.
Well, you need to be a little careful about pushing up to that ramp. He might try and go.
Banana phone.
Yeah, the phone. It's done. There we go. But he's going to be warping, and he's getting a third base behind it. Unfortunately, Nerchio has no indication that he's doing that, so he's just thinking it's an all-in. I need to defend right now, right here, and he definitely needs to do that too. But then he also needs to think about the late game as well, because ShoWtime is not backing down when it comes to economy.
No, Nerchio's only just got his 1-1 on the field, so he's not really behind in upgrades, but ShoWtime's going to have that 2-0, and Archons with +2 weapons. Oh, that splash damage is so good.
Yeah. He's really just posturing right now, forcing Nerchio not to get, obviously not to get that fourth base and to stop droning. He's currently at 61 drones, which is not ideal at all, to be honest. Getting a few more right now as he recognizes this is not actually going to happen. So I like what ShoWtime's doing, though.
With how long it took him to get this third base up, though, it kind of made sense to not drone and instead go for the army, because if he had even, like, say, 12 less Hydras on the field because he went for roaches, he would have lost that third base again. So it's not an ideal amount by any means, but completely necessary, I feel, in the situation that Nerchio's stuck in.
Yeah. And of course, with only 3 bases, 20 per base, that's fine. When he gets that fourth, he's definitely going to want to have 75 to 80. But
the fourths are actually blocked by that pylon and a zealot. And that probe from earlier, actually, if that pylon never gone up, this Dark Templar would not have snuck in here.
Oh, yeah, Dark Templar.
But may not matter. We got the big push coming out. Nerchio draws the army out of position to the third base, opening this giant hole for him to just run in with the links into the natural. Hydras, a little tentative come in, but big time. Oh, big recall actually just from the third base. It doesn't seem like a lot, but that was huge.
I actually don't like that. Now the third base is completely open. Or I guess the DT is
well, oh no, but the Hydra's getting zoned out. Ugh, they got that extra range, but is it going to be enough? There's no. Actually, the Protoss player's really choked here as well. This is not a good engagement spot for ShoWtime.
He's using all of his sentries right now. Luckily, his Immortals are still doing the work that is necessary. And the Dark Templars, by the way, always going unscouted. No Overseer yet again. So that did go well for ShoWtime.
And the third didn't really take too much damage either. The cannons defended that quite nicely. And
yeah.
Nerchio, I thought that was a really scary push. But I want to point out, guys, the reason that recall was such a big deal is Nerchio, if you had saw, split his Hydralisk off to the north. He was waiting for ShoWtime to walk in from behind so he could turn around and have this big concave of a surround. But that recall completely negated every aspect of that. So
yeah,
really cool move out of ShoWtime.
Honestly, I thought the time, or the recall rather, would force Nerchio to go to the third, and that would be undefended. But you're right, he was setting up a concave.
Well, I thought that was going to happen as well, quite frankly, but we saw what ended up happening afterwards, so it's one of those awesome hindsight moments where you just recognize how much cooler that was than you initially thought it was.
Exactly. Once again, Nerchio is coming in here. He's going to try and break it, at least stop the fourth from coming up, and that is pretty important. Once that Protoss gets a fourth, their economy is just too scary. I mean, 3 base Protoss is still scary, but 4.
Hey, 2 base Protoss is scary, man. Anything above that, that's like Armageddon and Doomsday on the way. Each of these bases is one of the riders of the apocalypse.
That's awesome. Someone should tweet that, actually. I'm gonna go do that afterwards. But the storm is done, by the way, guys. So that is an extra. That's actually a lot of extra damage to those Hydralisks. Do they have muscle augments? It looks like they're going to be being really speedy. So he's tearing them apart. But ShoWtime is doing very well. It's splitting up his own army.
Yeah, the fourth base. I mean, Nerchio's goal was hit that fourth base. He's trying to distract at the third, but big storms! The Hydra's not even able to move out of it. The Time Warp put them all in place. This army just evaporates in a couple of spell casts.
Oh my god. Wow. Alright, so Nerchio took a big loss right there. He's now down by about 20 supply. He's remaxing with Hydras, and I believe that was most of the storms, so that's one thing. Like, there's no more storms, I guess. But the army is still huge for ShoWtime.
For now, Zombie Grub. The big thing, too, like, those storms are so critical, not because they're so good at dealing with the Hydras. Ooh, this northern base is going to fall, though. A lot of Zealots, a lot of DTs, but the big thing was there's no Colossi on the field. They haven't been in production, and they're probably not going to be in production, and he needed some sort of area of effect attack. Archons are great, but they just weren't cutting in.
Yeah, High Templars are very good. Storm's obviously very good against Roach Hydra. Really, Swarm Host is really, like, almost like a hard counter against someone who doesn't go Colossus, but unfortunately Howard Nerchio is going to know that, right? So Nerchio in a very difficult position right now. He's going to get force-footed off from the right.
He's going to get a nice surround here for the top, though.
That's nice concave.
Is it going to be enough, though? The Immortals are still going strong. Big storm comes down, and most of the Hydras are dead at this point. The upgrades for ShoWtime, man. Those +3 weapons are so darn good. GG is called. And ShoWtime's going to even it up.
I felt that was actually very impressive from ShoWtime. I'm seeing things that a lot of other Protosses lack, like always using that mothership core. He always has it somewhere, so those time warps are just fantastic. And the recalls as well, right? So really liking from ShoWtime. Of course, Nerchio, I think, just the initial attack really didn't set him up that well for the late game, obviously.